ballots and debates and lies. Oh my. 3 weeks from election eve, and there is much to discuss. From why your ballot got fat to why you shouldn't be fooled by a secret group pushing a debunked smear. First, though, your ballot status update. The first of Colorado's 3 million ballots going out were mailed today. Your ballot must be received by a county clerk before 7 p.m. on Election Day, November 6th. Received means it has to be in their hands by that time. Simply having it postmarked by that day and time does not count. There are all kinds of free drop-off locations at city and county offices around our state, even at libraries and such. If you want to do this by mail, please do it by Halloween and get ready to pay for postage, because some of these suckers are sizable this year. Our Marshall Zellinger explains why.
First thing they're going to notice in Denver is the length of the ballot.
There's going to be a lot of paper inside.
We have a 3-card ballot, which means there'll be 6 sides.
Why are ballots so long? Well, because politics. Denver's takes up so much paper because it not just includes statewide candidates and statewide ballot issues, but Denver is also one of 4 counties required to have a bilingual ballot, English and Spanish. And that's just part of the reason it takes up both sides of 3 pages.
We've got 4 referred measures that came over through City Council, but then we have another 4 measures that were initiated to the ballot by the voters.
Ah, yes, the local ballot issues, the kind that you don't generally see commercials for.
The Tabor notice you get from the county will cover any municipal and special district questions that are on your ballot.
On top of your statewide blue book, you'll get a not-so-blue book from your county that explains the local issues that make your ballot longer.
The city of Littleton has put a lot of questions on the ballot this year, so there's actually contest or questions on all 4 sides.
Littleton and Aurora have 2 pages front and back. Inglewood has 1 side left blank.
This ballot may consist of multiple pages. Please review and vote both sides of all pages.
By the way, even though Arapahoe County Clerk Matt Crane runs the elections, I need to point out he's also running for re-election, and his challenger is Democrat Joan Lopez. Okay, if there's one thing you take away from this story, it's not that ballots are long. It's this.
One thing that's different than what we talked about back in May and June for the primary, when we were telling unaffiliated voters to make sure to only return 1 ballot card. Now we want to make sure voters return all 3 ballot cards.
3 ballot cards in Denver, 2 in the other counties that we just talked about with Arapahoe County and the cities there. I don't know if this is good luck or not, Kyle. These are orange and blue in Denver. They're color-coded for the Broncos. Hopefully they don't get lost. If you don't get your ballot this week, don't freak out yet. The post office has 3 million of these to deal with. If you don't get it by next Monday, contact your local county clerk, or you can just go in. You can go in and vote today. 14 people had already voted in Denver when I went to do that interview, Kyle.
Those people are itching for democracy.
That's passion.
That is passion. I like that. Just jump in there on the first day and vote in person. Marshall, thank you. A brand new political group just spent $700,000 on an ad trying to mislead you. This group is called Colorado Citizens for Truth. Even the name is misleading. I mean, I'd have to give them partial credit if they at least called their group Anonymous Cowards Promoting Smears. But no, the ad's not accurate, neither is their name. We've debunked this a few times, but once more won't hurt. Here again is our friend Marshall.
An angry CEO confronts a departing female employee and traps her in his office.
I'm going to stop this ad right here because it continues to perpetuate misleading information about Democratic gubernatorial candidate Jared Polis and a 1999 incident involving the police and an employee on her last day. I'll let Kyle tell you the rest since we've already covered this.
Documents show police decided it was the other person and not Polis who was in the wrong that day. It was a workplace dispute in 1999, a secretary leaving on bad terms. Polis physically blocked her from leaving the office and called Boulder police because she was stealing sensitive documents. The police report says Polis pushed the secretary back from the doorway. The only person charged in the incident was the secretary. She pleaded guilty to stealing trade secrets.
The ad does get one thing absolutely correct.
There's no good reason to assault a woman.
And in this case, Jared Polis did not. For Next, I'm Marshall Zellinger.
Don't you think Marshall would be really good at moderating a gubernatorial debate? Yeah, let's do that for sure. Wednesday night, Republican Walker Stapleton, Democrat Jared Polis, Marshall, me, questions, perhaps even answers. Wednesday, 7 p.m. live from the CSU campus in Fort Collins. You can watch on Channel 20, on the 9 News app, or on our Facebook page. Lisa Calderon wants to be Denver's first female mayor. The frequent critic of Mayor Michael Hancock on issues ranging from development to sexual harassment is entering the race to replace him. Calderon's a Democrat. She's a criminal justice professor at Regis University. She's also the co-chair of the Colorado Latino Forum. She's long been involved in a number of city and state issues, including the fight against gentrification and pushing for increased transparency in government. Mayor Hancock filed paperwork today that makes his re-election bid official. He's looking for a third term. There is another well-known name in the race at this point, attorney and former state senator Penfield Tate. Tate joined me here when he got into the race, and Lisa Calderon will be my guest on Next tomorrow. Our next question comes from a viewer named Michelle Alpert, who posted on the Next Facebook page. I'm wondering if Colorado is a heavily gerrymandered state. Michelle, that is an excellent question. Colorado certainly does not have the negative reputation for gerrymandering that you hear about states like North Carolina or Virginia or Maryland. In 2020, though, Colorado's likely to get a new seat in the House, so that's going to set off a redrawing of lines, a redistricting battle. The state legislature unanimously endorsed a plan to have a bipartisan commission, not politicians, do the drawing of the state and federal lines next time. Those are amendments Y and Z on your ballot. But Michelle, your question got us thinking that it's time for a deeper discussion about why redistricting matters. So we reached out to Wendy Underhill. She's the Director of Elections and Redistricting with the National Conference of State Legislatures. Most Coloradans probably could not give you the number of their congressional district, probably could not tell you which state house and state senate districts they're in. So why does redistricting matter?
Well, one reason it matters is that we want to have every voice in Colorado have equal weight in the state legislature and with their congresspeople in D.C. And the way you do that is you divide up the geography of Colorado into equal population districts, so everyone has the same amount of power in regard to their represented electors.
Colorado's likely to get another congressional district after the 2020 census. So this leads to a very basic question that I know is a complex question. People say, well, where's it going to come from?
I think they're going to start with a clean slate. They're going to take our rectangular state and they're going to have to start over. So in terms of congressional districts, instead of just editing them, you might say, changing a line between them here and there, they're probably going to start with a clean slate, because dividing by 8 is different than dividing by 7.
Is part of this the fact that this is a fairly evenly divided state politically, a third Democrat, third Republican, third unaffiliated, so nobody really knows who's going to be in charge when it comes time to draw the maps? Is that fair to say?
Absolutely fair to say. We are a purple state, and we have been a purple state. Apparently in the last 4 decades, that's 1980 through to the 2010, at no time when the congressional maps were being considered did we have the House, the Senate, and the governorship in the same hands. So there was always this divided government. And in all 4 of those efforts, the plan didn't get passed on time by the legislature, and courts had to step in. So we are a purple state. When you're a purple state, both parties might think, we're not really sure where we're going to be after the 2020 election. Maybe this is our this negotiated option is the way we want to go.
Opposition to amendments Y and Z, it's been pretty minimal at this point. It's focused on the potential cost of these commissions, the fact that they're unaccountable because they're not elected officials, and there's also been concern that they would be made up of Democrats, Republicans, and unaffiliated voters. They would leave out third-party voters. And finally, in terms of politics, we're getting some feedback. This from Kat DeBarris on Facebook. Kat writes, Kyle, please run for some sort of office. No. You and me, we can shake off this early season snow. Our trees might not be so lucky.
Anytime a snowstorm like that starts building in October before leaf drop, it makes me very nervous.
No shame in losing to the Rams. There is a pantload of shame if they lose to the Cardinals. We'll ask if Coach Joseph gets sent packing. That's next.
It's almost like a religion of thought.
Leave shadows on the clouds.
Look to the heavens, lines in the sky that captivate conspiracy theorists. Chemtrails, followers convinced something evil and secret is going on.
I can hear you now. Why are we wasting time on this? Social media has become fertilizer for this conspiracy. Recent surveys indicate 1 in 5 Americans believe in this theory.
So I could see a line in the sky.
Yes,
right
2 of them.
Right
yeah. They do tend to put them in front of the sun, which makes sense if they're trying to block sunlight.
What do you think is going on up there?
Well, what they say is that this is sort of a desperate measure to counteract global warming.
Zadnik is quick to say he doesn't trust the government. Can you blame the guy? After all, our government doesn't really have the greatest track record when it comes to telling the truth. Agent Orange, the Tuskegee syphilis study, the human plutonium injection experiments. I can go on and on. That's the government. But what about science? What is that white line in the sky behind a plane?
Well, the white line behind a jet is a natural process that goes on with the relationship between the aerodynamics of the aircraft and the atmosphere.
They won't even say that word. Scientifically, they're called condensation trails. Contrails for short.
So what you're really doing is you're sort of artificially generating a cloud.
So what we see up there is not the government intentionally putting chemicals into the sky for geoengineering.
No.
There's no accepted scientific evidence whatsoever that proves a covert program is real. Based on our highly credible experts and scientific approach to chemtrails, we can verify the chemtrail conspiracy is false.
No more. It's none of my business.
No more. I'm sure they'll work it out.
No more. It only happened once.
No more. He said he was sorry. No more. Why doesn't she just leave?
No more. Not my problem.
No more. But he has such a bright future.
No more. He didn't mean it.
No more bystanding.
No more ignorance.
No more excuses.
No more.
Change starts with one courageous person who steps up and speaks out. If you've been wronged or see wrongdoing, email us at blowthewhistle@9news.com.
Well, fall fell, splat of snow and leaves all over our sidewalks and lawns over the weekend. Denver City Forester told us he gets worried anytime there is an early freeze and snow, because if the trees get caught off guard by the cold like they did back in November of 2014, I mean, that can be the end for the tree. The tree can die. But the forester doesn't think that the cold temperature stuck around long enough this time to do that kind of damage.
Honestly, I think trees are probably feeling pretty lucky. I don't think it's going to be one of those cold drops that will do as much damage as we saw in the past.
If your tree ends up holding on to its leaves throughout the winter, and that tree hasn't done that in the past, Denver's forester says that is a reliable sign that it has some major freeze damage. The most Colorado thing we saw today is the reason why somebody woke up to snow in their car in Boulder over the weekend. Surveillance video shows it was not an absent-minded human. Nope, it was a really inconsiderate bear. A Red Van Workshop employee recorded this video in West Boulder over the weekend. The bear goes around and very carefully opens 3 of the doors, probably just looking for food, you know the drill, and then walks away with the doors left open. You ever see a bear shut the car doors? No, neither did I. That's the most Colorado thing we saw today.
But at least he had a proper coat for the weather, unlike a lot of people yesterday when our high was in the 20s. Today, a 20-degree warm-up, but still a far cry from the mid-60s. Ski resorts just welcoming this help from Mother Nature because we don't have a lot of snow coming in the upcoming week. As a matter of fact, yesterday's storm is off to the east of us, and there's a little area of low pressure cut off from the main flow in Arizona. We've got to watch that for the middle part of the week. Right now, we look clear and dry until Wednesday. Some of that moisture bringing some showers up into the southwestern mountains, and maybe 1 or 2 of those drift over the Front Range foothills. We'll have to see. It looks like a quiet week of weather for us, and temperatures are going to be trending upward. And tonight will be cold, but not as cold as last night. The record low 18. Tonight 29, tomorrow 55, upper 50s on Wednesday, 60s for Thursday and Friday, close to 70 late in the weekend. Hope you had some fun out in the cold and snow like these two.
Kathy, thank you. The Broncos continued their sellout streak Sunday. Sell out with all those empty seats. You know the drill. Doesn't matter if people show up, just so long as they sell the tickets. There were more than 9,000 empty seats. That is the most for a Broncos home game since back in 2010. Remember that year? Josh McDaniels didn't make it through the season as the head coach. So all those empty seats don't portend well for our friend Coach Vance Joseph, especially if the Broncos' losing streak continues against Arizona on Thursday. We put that question to our Broncos guy Mike Kless.
Yeah, I would think this is a must-win for Vance Joseph. The Broncos are favored going into Arizona, but the fact that they're 1-9 in the Vance Joseph era on the road, and those 9 losses have been by an average of 16.6 points, That's really been the most negative aspect of Vance Joseph's record. I would think John Elway and Joe Ellis will have some deep discussions about what to do. They have Kansas City after that, and then they have the Houston Texans back home. You know, I'm not sure the Broncos administration wants to put Vance Joseph out there in front of the home crowd, which has really become unruly the last couple games. So I would think this is a make-or-break game for Vance Joseph. He has so much as admitted that today, that he is among the Broncos going for his coaching life. So if they lose to Arizona, wouldn't be surprised if there is a change.
All right, this may be one of the most frequently requested pronunciations for our game. What do you say? Clara, Brianne, Patrick, Stan all wrote in asking about the word on the screen right there. It's part of a sequence of Denver streets west of Broadway. They're named after native tribes, A to Z. And then you get to G. So we called up an expert at the Denver Public Library and asked, what do you say?
So the correct pronunciation for this street is Galapago. The other more common one that we hear besides Galapago is Galapago. People think of Galapagos Islands. It's kind of a funny one because it is from the Galapagos Islands, even though that's not technically like a North American Indian name like the other ones are. But apparently the person who named these Indian streets was Howard C. Maloney, and he thought that the other street names that were from different Native American, or the different Native American tribe names with G's, were too hard to pronounce, and so he chose Galapago for G.
Thanks, Howard. Trying to make it easy, and well, you've tripped everyone up. Galapago is what it is. We're checking into a couple of confusing Denver street names that you've been inquiring about, and we'll do that over the next couple of weeks. Where else should we head in search of the proper pronunciation? Email next@9news.com or get our attention with the hashtag HeyNext.
Students are coming to school in need of not just an education, but food and clothes.
People come here and they think there isn't a need for this, and there really is.
We'll show you an expanding effort in the suburbs. And our segment, You've Crossed a Line, is tearing a family apart. We'll try to keep the peace. Next.
How you doing, sweetheart?
If anyone knows,
there she goes,
the difference between work and duty.
I know you're asking for.
Gene Jiggets has known ever since he met his wife, Mary.
Mary is a keeper.
He kept her through a life of secrets. In 1951, Jiggets was assigned to an elite group of 28 men working on something they called the hydrogen bomb. And now that his work is done, it is time for his duty, assisting his 93-year-old wife
in entering into dementia,
fighting a disease that's taking her mind.
I said, one thing that I will pledge that I will never do as long as I'm able to assist. I will never put you in a home.
Because she is home.
I aspire to be a writer. New York Times bestseller is the dream.
My dream is to become a marine biologist and to work hands-on with animals.
I dream to travel around the world and be an influential speaker.
I want to be a businesswoman or a doctor.
My goals and aspirations are to make a difference.
My dream is to be an Air Force pilot.
I want to go to med school and I want to be a trauma surgeon.
I always ask my family for world peace for Christmas.
Too often we fall into this, there's this side and there's this side. Well, you know what? Sometimes this side isn't telling the truth, and we should be saying that. It's important to hear things you don't agree with because it is the single best way to test your own beliefs. It's a sign of thoughtfulness to hear a perspective that you disagree with and to say, you know what? I hadn't considered that. That's a really good point. I want to give you a fresh perspective, something that you haven't thought of. It doesn't matter if you agree. It just matters that we listen to each other.
Get to know the Johnsons 5 nights a week.
How about I give you $100?
No, 200, and you agree not to have any more children.
Okay, that's a decision I have. No.
A traditional family.
I'm here to help.
You're not Mom.
Where's Mom?
in an unconventional comedy.
I think you look good for your age, Dad.
40's not bad, right?
You're only 40? Good Lord, you've lived a hard life.
Weekdays starting at 5 p.m. on Channel 20.
It's flu season. Protect your family. Find a 9 Health fair near you and get a voucher for a free, convenient flu shot. You can also donate to provide a flu shot for a neighbor in need. Help your community stay healthy. For details, go to 9healthfair.org.
It's no secret students can't learn if they don't have school supplies, or good food in their bellies, or proper clothes to keep them warm. And that is why a year ago, South Jeffco's Westgate Elementary started a hub offering those items, and now they're looking to expand to serve some other schools. Our Byron Reed has the story.
So this is the Westgate Community Hub. We have things that families can cook at home. We also have foods that are prepared. 65% of our student body is on free and reduced lunch, and we realized that we had a need to help provide those families with food and clothing. So like the chicken and the meat and stuff are in the soups. So we serve about 52 students where we pack bags for them every Friday and send them home with food for the weekends. We have clothes separated by size and gender. We also have families that come through here and use it for clothing and coats and boots. We kind of are a forgotten area here because this is a very affluent neighborhood, and people come here and they think there isn't a need for this, and there really is. So we're talking about opening up to a bigger area where we can serve a lot of the schools in South Jefferson County. In order to do that, we've got to bring in food on a more regular basis. We need soup, we need rice, we take cans of vegetables. We're really working hard on building kind of the idea of the school as a community hub, where not only are the kids going to school here to get a great education, but they can also be provided with some of these things that their families need. We have winter coats and hats and gloves. I think especially this time of year as the weather's getting cold and people are maybe looking at a situation over the winter that can be kind of scary. It's kind of nice for them to have this to be able to provide assistance. I mean, kids with full bellies do better in school. I mean, it's as simple as that.
School hosts donation drop-offs first week of every month. First community drive is next month. All right, I'm concerned. Our fun little parking shaming segment, You've Crossed a Line, it's tearing families apart. Take the Haggis family. Chris says his wife Laurel accused him of crossing a line, so he took a picture to prove to his wife that he crossed no line. He said they never argued over such matters until we crossed a line with our segment. Listen, Chris and Laurel, next is about bringing people together, not ripping families apart. So I want to hear from each of you 3 reasons why you still love each other.
My husband, Chris, crosses the line all the time. But one thing he really does well is he always has dark chocolate for me here in this house. I never have to wonder. It's always here. He has a particularly great shoulder to cry on, ladies, if anyone is of need of that. And number 3, he comes to all my pickleball tournaments.
3 reasons why I love my sweet Laurel Ann. Number 1, she has a quirky sense of humor. You never know what's going to come out of her mouth next. Number 2, she's an artist. She makes really beautiful things around her home. And number 3, she just doesn't say I love you. She finds 100 ways a day to show it to me.
Okay, how cute are they? Come on now. We're saving marriages around here, and we're listening carefully to your feedback next.
These girls are too much.
Can I have your attention, everyone? That depends. Are you a cat video? Too funny. Here's your fish of the day. That day is last Monday. Too wild. Together. Caroline's got a date tonight. It's not a joke. I'm really going on a date. Stop it. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna pee.
2 broke girls.
5 nights a week on Channel 20.
The Broncos Huddle. Wednesday nights at 6:30 on 9 News.
Which one of you is horny?
How did I get here? My mom was horrible and drove me to drink, which led to drugs. Remember me? But I cleaned up my act.
Wish I hadn't spit in his latte.
For that glamorous,
You look like a slutty highlighter.
single mom life.
Why aren't you wearing pants? I was relaxing.
And now I'm back here, living with my mom.
That changes everything. You deserve a cupcake.
5 nights a week on Channel 20.
To keep you and your family safe, it's important to be cautious. Keep your house safe by closing the windows, the main door, and the garage door. Keep your valuables in your car safe by never leaving anything visible. Choose a well-traveled route when taking a walk. And be aware of your surroundings when using an ATM.
It's that easy to be safe. It's up to you. And for your safety, you have them to protect and serve you, the Denver Police Department.
Only those who have survived combat know what it's like to live with the memories. But Freedom Service Dogs can help veterans struggling with emotional and physical disabilities. Because Freedom Service Dogs are all shelter rescues, your donation today may not only save a dog, but also a veteran desperate to reclaim what has been lost. Help change their lives now at freedomservicedogs.org.
This is how you say, it's going to be okay, to someone who just lost everything. That yes, we'll find you somewhere to stay. And yes, your children will have breakfast. Every 8 minutes, the American Red Cross responds to a disaster and makes this promise. Help us keep it.
We finished with your feedback. Joanne says, so nice to have an adult program. I like Kyle when I agree with him, and when I disagree, well, speaking of disagreement, Leanne writes in, watch the program, says, I will never say Galapago. It's wrong. Listen, we just tell you the backstory. You decide how to pronounce things. Val Valentine, Pagosa Springs, says Colorado is not a rectangle, it's a trapezoid. You know she's right. See you next time.